You've tuned into The Seed, brought to you by the Staley Credit Union and Viewig Real Estate. Welcome to The Seed. I'm Julie Staley. We are so glad you are joining us for this episode. We are ahead of our time. We're going to be talking today about events that are going to be coming up at the Staley Museum. And Laura Jahr, my co-host, joins me from the Staley Museum. How are you today, Laura?
Fine, Julie. Thanks for bringing me on today to talk about the museum. It's one of my favorite topics.
Well, you have so many great stories to tell being at the museum, every day, talking to the people that come in, talking to people who have stories from the Staley Manufacturing Company, and from the years that have gone by since then. So it's always a delight to talk to you and to hear the stories that you have. But I know today you have stories that you're going to tell us about events that are coming up and people that are involved, and many of the wonderful celebrations that we are going to have to, look at the history of the company and of the family and of A.E. Staley. We, of course, are producing a documentary, Fields of Gold, about the life of A.E. Staley. And we are in post-production. We are very close to getting to the finish where we can start looking at distribution and where people are going to be able to see this. So a lot of exciting things happening there, but also more immediate, more exciting things are happening at the museum. So Laura, tell us about some of the great things that are coming up.
Well, let's see. There's been quite a bit going on. Sometimes when we're here at the museum, times feels like it moves slowly, and other times it feels like there just isn't enough time for everything that we want to do. But there's been a little bit of both of those feelings this year. I think coming back after COVID, and even after last year, 2021 has been a challenge, for everybody in this kind of field. Not just the Staley Museum, but other historic sites as well. But having said that, we've had a lot of good stuff going on this year in general, aside from the fact that we have recently welcomed on board as part of our team a new archivist who came from Spencer Films. She was directly involved with your group doing the research for the film. And when her work was kind of wrapping up there, we were lucky enough to be able to bring her on board here. And I can't tell you what a boon that is to us in terms of possibilities for future stories, to have somebody who has Lana Wildman's background in library science and research. She's going to be a real asset to us in terms of building more exhibits and finding new stories and keeping track of what we have here at the museum. It's probably the archivist role is one of the most important roles at a museum. Without a good archive and a good archivist, you don't know what you have. And if you don't know what you have, you can't build your stories. So we're really excited to have Lana as part of our team now here at the museum.
She definitely has given us a lot of, I'd say, the nuggets of gold in researching for our documentary, and has, just literally traveled on her own to places to go look for things, physically dig around and look for things. So she definitely can find, get to the bottom of a situation, or get to the bottom of a story, or find that there's nothing more to be told.
Yeah.
History is saying no more about this.
And what you just said is, I think, another important connection. Spencer Films is its own entity, but this particular project that they're working on is, very near and dear and important to the museum. Lana's connection with the research done on that project is going to be, I think, invaluable as the museum moves forward telling stories. There will be things that she will already have the answers to, and so we're excited to
absolutely
work directly with her on that kind of thing and keep building things here around the museum.
Absolutely. I want to also mention our sponsors. We have three wonderful sponsors for our podcast. We have the Staley Credit Union, we have Vieweg Real Estate, and we have the Brecknitz Group of Raymond James. All three of them are Decatur, Central Illinois based companies. So they really share in history, just like the museum, the Staley Museum, and just like Spencer Films is doing with the documentary Fields of Gold. We also have partners in this project. Of course, the documentary is being produced in partnership with the Herald and Review newspaper. So they have been able to provide a lot of assistance and, of course, a lot of research and material as well. So we're really, really grateful for that. Also, First Mid Insurance Group has been a help to us, as well as McGuire, Uhas, Huffman, and Buckley CPA firm. We've been really grateful for all of their services. So a lot of people in the area have really, really been supporting us through this venture, through this journey that we have really been on with the documentary. We're into our third year of producing this, and we hope that we can announce very, very soon where people can start to see it. So we're getting to that point. But in the meantime, we definitely have things at the museum that are really, really fantastic pieces of history of memorabilia that we want to share with everyone in the events that are coming up.
Well, I'm going to get to the events in a minute, but I do want to tell, because of what you just said, the kind of support that you've been receiving for the film, I want to say that our community here in Decatur has been incredibly supportive to the museum experience as well. And I think when we started this project and when I became director here, to me, one of the most important aspects of this museum was connecting on the community level with members in the community. And there are so many people in the community that have worked for Staley's or had family members that worked for Staley's. And one of our new exhibits that just went up last week, actually, is about a Staley employee named William Jahr, and he was the first syrup mixer. Now, that to us here at the museum he was an important player in the beginning of manufacture at the Staley Company. Outside of starch, one of their first products was syrup. And the syrup mixer was, king. It was his discerning taste that created the flavor that became so well known for the Staley syrup brand. We wanted to get this exhibit up because the family that William Jahr, I'm not sure if his last name is pronounced Her or Here. It's spelled Heer. He was a long time, he lived for a long time here in the Decatur community. His daughter, who was a Staley employee, married another Staley employee by the last name of Waite, William Waite. And their family is still here today and still owns and operates businesses here in Decatur. And they donated to the museum in this case, their grandfather's eyeglasses that we see in the photographs of him in his chemistry lab. His role was very significant. And he was there for probably what I would call the glory years of the manufacturing era of Staley from 1920 to 1940, or actually 42. And so he was also there working directly with A.E. Staley Sr. And the family is just thrilled that there's an exhibit commemorating their family member here in the museum. Those are the stories that when you have somebody come in from the community and say, oh, I know that man, or I know his family, or that person's my family member. It's when you realize how important the stories that we tell here are to the community. So I just wanted to plug that in because we get a lot of people coming in from the Decatur community with artifacts to donate. And sometimes they're very personal in nature, as in the case of this man, William Jahr, the first syrup mixer at Staley's.
We absolutely have come across that just in our work here with our small team for the documentary, we've come across photographs and memorabilia, and someone on the team will say, that's my relative, and I know that person. So some of these photographs are 100 years old, and so it's really wonderful when we can connect that with the real life, when we have and really show that this is something that is not just A.E. Staley history, but it is community history. It's history of everyone in the area, because everyone has a connection with the company in some way. Just a lot of rich history, which is also what one of our sponsors has to say about being part of the community. Viewing Real Estate, they say that this rich history not only helps people, but it helps the community. They not only help people buy and sell residential and commercial real estate, they enjoy connecting them with the community that we all love. And Decatur and Central Illinois have much to offer anyone who chooses to reside here, and Viewing Real Estate is ready to help find and buy a dream home or business. So you can find out more at viewingrealestate.com, VIEWEG, realestate.com. They're working hard so you don't have to. So we're really fortunate, again, to have so many other businesses that recognize and represent the history of all of the people that we've had for so many, many decades in this community, which is what you see nearly every day at the museum.
Yes, we do. We do. When we posted that the fact that we had that new exhibit up, the Facebook just kind of went wild about memories, the nostalgia about the flavor of the Staley syrup. And one of the other reasons syrup was so important was it was a sweetening agent that was less expensive than sugar. And also in times of war, when sugar was rationed, syrup was an alternative to sweetening. So people that lived through things like that, the Depression, war years, anything like that, have very nostalgic memories of using things like syrup to sweeten, or making a syrup sandwich if there wasn't anything else available.
That sounds really good. Can we
mixing it? They talked about mixing it with peanut butter on a sandwich, and that was like a special treat. So
okay, I'm going to have to go try that. Don't tell my kids. I'm going to try that in secret.
Unfortunately, you'll have to use a different syrup because Staley syrup isn't around anymore. But yeah, there's a lot of nostalgia surrounding Staley syrup and its flavor. But so that's one exhibit. We're also working on getting an exhibit up that talks a little bit about the syrup manufacturing process, the refinery versus the syrup house where taste testing was done and packaging was done. And that was, again, an important part of the Staley campus, especially in those early years. But beyond that, and maybe one of the most important things that we are, celebrating on different levels here is the soybean manufacturing story. This year, 2022, marks the 100th year of when A.E. Staley Sr. started processing soybeans. That is probably one of the most important stories we tell in terms of the long-lasting effects that choice of Mr. Staley to follow, it changed everything. It changed the course of agriculture, brought soybeans onto the market, in a big way. And then, in later years, soybeans would be valued, as a protein source for humans, I mean, it has been for millennia in other countries, but for this country, it was a new idea, and it took people a little while to come to terms with that. But it certainly benefited the farmers in terms of having two cash crops and the kind of replenishing of soil that soybeans does after corn. So it was a whole education and sales process on the part of Mr. Staley to convince farmers that this was going to be a good thing for them and that he was going to back them up. So many other businesses have jumped on that bandwagon since Staley started and have, made millions of dollars and given millions of people jobs and created an international market. It's not for nothing that that we've often referred to this area of the world as the breadbasket of the world. There's so much grain here of varying in the Midwest. I mean, so it's a great story, and it's an important one this year.
And he really backed up, kind of put his money where his mouth is when he guaranteed to farmers that he would buy their grain.
Yes.
And that, you can imagine that had to be a turning point and a real, decision, the catalyst for many farmers to make the decision to do this. Again, the fact that they could rotate their crops and their soil would be replenished, that had to sound like a good idea. So he made it really kind of very easy for them to do that, because he really believed in this soybean. And I think that's really amazing, because he was, of course, introduced to the soybean when he was a child in North Carolina. And he saw what it could do in a small form on his farm. He grew a little bit of soybeans on his farm. But as a large crop overall, he had to really make some assumptions, I guess, about it. And when you consider that he only had really a third grade education, he, again, had to really believe in what he was doing. That's very evident in his whole life and all of the stories about him.
I was just going to say, we see that over and over again in his, I don't know what to call it. I don't know if we should call it a sixth sense. I don't know what to call it. It's true. He was introduced to soybeans as a child, and it almost sounds like a fairy tale story. I equate it to Jack and the Beanstalk, a handful of beans and turn it into, and that handful of beans, brings on an entire economy of riches with it. But it's more than that. It really is. It's more than that. It's also true that North Carolina was one of the few places in the United States that did have some soybean cultivation going on as Staley was growing up. But where Staley's sixth sense, or his business sense, whatever you want to call it, kicks in is when he establishes himself in Illinois, where nothing like that is happening. And he sees a niche that's available for opening up and building on. And that's where Staley's business sense, this wonderful innate business sense that doesn't come from formal education, it comes from the school of life, kicks in and shows him paths that just really are pure gold. Pure gold.
Absolutely. And he really wanted a lot of success for his employees as well, financial success. And that's why he eventually established the Staley Credit Union, which was eventually in the administration building, and of course has moved out of there today. But as one of our sponsors, we're very proud to have that connection with them. And their question for people is, what if you owned your own bank? That is kind of how that started back then, was being in control of your own finances. And when you join Staley Credit Union, you will have a say in your own bank. Profits come back to you, not the investors. And how does that happen? When you think of lower interest rates on loans, higher dividends on savings, financial education, and unmatched member service. And you can become a member today. You can visit StaleyCU.com. And this institution is not federally insured by Member Choice, but it is proudly insured by American Share Insurance. And the Staley Credit Union is its own entity aside from the company today, but they have had a very long history with the company and getting employees settled financially. So A.E. Staley definitely, yes, was looking for that for himself, for his company, and for his employees.
Absolutely. He really was a waymaker in so many aspects. And, being primarily family-owned business, being a family-owned business, really gave him the ability to make decisions on the quick and implement them. So yeah, 100 years of pioneering soybeans is the anniversary this year. We're working on expanding our current soybean exhibit and hoping to have that up and for visitors to see through the fall months. The actual date itself is September 30th, 1922.
Mhm.
So we're looking to have, September, October kind of harvest time be the time that people can really come in and hear that story.
And we'd love to hear the story that people bring in to tell us about their connection with with the history of the company, the stories that they have. So we hope that people will continue to share those with us. And you mentioned on our social media, I believe it was on our Facebook page, that we have some new postings about the new exhibit and display, and we love that when we can read about the excitement and the history on our Facebook page, on our social media. So if you are not on our Facebook page, we also have an Instagram page. You can definitely go on there on the Staley Museum and check out all of the photographs and the events that we have coming up. And please leave a memory, leave us something to tell us about your connection and why this is important to you. We really, really love to read about that and hear about that, because there's so many connections. They're all intertwined in Decatur and Central Illinois.
Well, and another thing you can check out on Facebook, or if you're in the area, you can come and check out, in conjunction with our soybean celebration, our master gardeners, who are part of the University of Illinois Extension Service and who do a lot of our landscaping here at the museum, have planted along the front path leading up to the main stairs a vintage variety of soybeans that would have been the kind of variety that Staley and farmers would have been using 100 years ago. So if you are interested in knowing what a 100-year-old variety of soybeans looks like, you might, we're going to try to keep posting pictures as they grow. But if you want to see them in person, they're right here on the property leading up to the museum. So we are excited that our master gardeners look for historical ways to involve even our landscaping in our storytelling. So
Absolutely. It's like touching a piece of history there. So
yeah.
definitely an opportunity there. And when we have another company in town that really has a lot of experience, the Brecknitz Group of Raymond James, they have a team of professionals with more than 250 years of combined experience, offering steadfast guidance for families and individuals, businesses, and institutional investors. And their powerhouse experience is supported by the award-winning resources of Raymond James. It's one of the largest independent financial service firms in the country. And for more information, you can visit the brecknitzgroup.com. That's the BRECHNITZ group.com. Brecknitz Group of Raymond James, a financial future backed by strength and stability. And absolutely something that A.E. Staley would want for his employees, for anyone who he's done business with. So much history there for all of these companies. So we're grateful for that. So yes, the master gardeners really they spruce up everything in the area. The landscaping, A.E. Staley, of course, loved his flowers, his roses, and they have really helped with that. But the soybeans are a wonderful addition. And if you can't get to the museum, at least join us on our Facebook page and you can watch the progress.
And I think then for the last thing that I really want to tell everybody about today, it's the upcoming event of the Taste of History event. It will be October 1st from 5 to 9 p.m. It's a Saturday evening. If you don't know what the Taste of History event is, it's actually a partnership with the other historic sites here in Decatur, Culver House, Oglesby Mansion, James Milliken Homestead, Mueller Museum, and of course, Staley Museum. And we do a ticketed event where people can go and visit each of these sites and enjoy an alcoholic beverage and an adult beverage and appetizers, and also learn about the local history here in the history here in Decatur of some of these prominent people, see their homes, and that kind of thing. It's been a very successful event in the past. People enjoy it. Here at the Staley Museum, we tend to go for a 1920s theme. That doesn't really correspond to the era of the house because the house is much earlier than that. But the 1920s theme corresponds to the period when the Staleys were really living and enjoying this home. The 1920s, 1930s were the years that they were really living here and enjoying this home, and their children were adults. So this is a great chance to come and come in the back door, like in a speakeasy, have a drink and have some appetizers, roam the house and see some of the different rooms, learn about the Staley history and the other sites in Decatur as well. Some of the information. Well, go ahead, Julie. Did you want to ask me something?
I just was going to emphasize how much wonderful history we have in the area, and these beautiful homes are really something to see. And here is a one-stop shop. I mean, you just go one night and you get a taste of history. So this is a wonderful event that usually sells out and has great attendance.
It does. We have 300 tickets for sale. Of course, in 2020, we had to cancel, as everyone did. In 2021, it was still looking a little bleak. So we're hoping that this year will be the comeback. But prior to 2020, prior to the COVID situation, we were selling out our tickets for this event. We have music. Each of the sites, for the most part, has some kind of music. We have the Sidewalk Stompers come in and play kind of jazzy ragtime music. And the Decatur trolley will be serviced to help transport people from site to site. So you'll be able to park your car in one location and use the trolley to go from site to site. And tickets go on sale September 1st. They are $40 per person. They go up to $45 the week before the event. And it is worth every penny. It is worth every penny. People that have come to this event have always told us, how much they enjoyed it. And the years that we weren't able to hold it, we got so many phone calls about, aren't you going to do the event this year? Isn't it going to happen this year? So we're really hoping that this year will be the comeback for the Taste of History. And like so many other things, not just for us, but for the entire community and all of the events that people are trying to host, all of the cultural events for the community. So
yeah, absolutely. It has been, I think, hard for some people to get back in the groove of things and feel confident about getting out. So we do hope that everyone can come out if they get a chance. But if you aren't able to go for any reason, please follow us on Facebook or on Instagram. We post all of this information on there. And of course, you can listen to more of our podcasts. We will post links on there as well. And in our Spencer Films page on Facebook and on Instagram, you can go there. We also have websites. You can go to thestaleymuseum.com or spencerfilmsllc.com and see more there, read more, hear more, and learn a lot more about all of this history. So
that's another thing, Julie. There is a Facebook page for Taste of History. I believe it's called Taste of History Decatur.
Okay.
And so you can any information about the Taste of History event, you'll be able to follow there. All the updates will appear there. When tickets go on sale, they'll appear. It will show up there. So that's another way to keep track of when tickets are available. And don't wait, because when we've sold out, they sold out pretty quickly. So don't wait if you're at all interested.
Absolutely. Technical difficulty there.
Sorry about that.
That is okay.
I can't keep these things in my hair.
I have the same problem with mine. I think I can't get them to stay in. So no, absolutely no problem. But we're glad you can hear us. So well, I'm so glad to talk about this, Laura, because there's so many things that are coming up, and we have had this time of everyone, having to close their doors, and it just feels good to actually have events and to, be excited about that. And we hope that so many people can come out and enjoy these and enjoy the history. And we look forward to hearing stories when people can come in and tell us about their history. So thank you so much, Laura, for all the information. And we will pick this up next time. We will start from here and go on. So
thanks,
Julie. That is all we have for The Seed. We are so glad that you joined us to hear a little bit more about the history and about the Fields of Gold documentary that'll be coming up very, very soon. We hope that you join us again. Our next episode is on August the 2nd. Laura Richter will be your host, and she has a very special episode called, we haven't really titled it yet, but we're going to kind of look back. Right now we're going ahead in time. We're kind of going to go back in time, and she's going to look back at some of our other episodes of The Seed and give some highlights. So you can hear some things maybe that you missed or hear some things that everyone may want to be reminded about again. So we thank all of you for joining us. Again, we thank our sponsors, the Brucknitz Group of Raymond James, Viewing Real Estate, and the Staley Credit Union, and our partners, Herald and Review, First Mid Insurance Group, and McGuire Uhas Huffman Buckley CPA firm. Thank you, everyone, for supporting us and for supporting history in the area.